What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about future Wizarding World games. This has been a topic I've brought up routinely, and I try to bring it up as much as I can, because I do think it's important. When we talk about portkey games, when we talk about Hogwarts Legacy, there needs to be more after it. Now, I am a guy who kind of looks probably too much into the future before focusing on the present. For Hogwarts Legacy, I think I've done a pretty good job of focusing just on the game, but honestly, with the brand, it does matter what you do in the future. And I brought this up in live streams. I've brought this up in other videos. There should be more games coming after Hogwarts Legacy. Now, I'm not saying like they need to be working on a sequel right now or they're fired. That's not, my angle. My angle is just, we know that it's a label, the Wizarding World, and the idea that you can make these games. It's a label, and you could hand it out like candy if you wanted to. You can hand it out like Marvel's handing out the Marvel games, and we're seeing plenty of them. Now, you don't always get great games. Sometimes you don't. But sometimes you get some really cool ones. And also you get kind of like out there ones that you would normally never get. Firstly, it's such a playground that you should be able to find people that want to make games in this universe. And you can go around, you can look at different studios that make different kinds of games. And again, like Hogwarts Legacy 2 should happen. We've talked about that before. For just really, if you want to take a couple steps back, the simple reason that you do not invest however many hundreds of millions of dollars they've put into Hogwarts Legacy. You don't invest that to make one game and then throw it off a cliff and say, yep, we're moving on to a Lego linear story game next. That's going to be our next game. Like, you don't change gears that easily. In game development, it's kind of cheating that you kind of know, like, all right, well, there probably would be sequels. And if they're not sequels, they're games using the engine, using some of the assets, using a lot of the stuff they've learned from Hogwarts Legacy for the second one. So that's Avalanche. That's what they would be doing right in the future. DLC, sequel, etc. But we've talked a lot about it. A Gwent style, right, like a card game. I mean, you can do a Wizard's Chess, super easy thing. Now, I would like that to just be in a base game. I don't need Wizard's Chess the game, but they could do that. Obviously, Quidditch World Cup makes a lot of sense at some point in our lives. But again, I guess a part of this video is that it should be immediate. I'm not talking, right? We shouldn't be sitting here and saying, well, yeah, Quidditch is a good idea. Chess is a good idea. I mean, maybe we can get these games in the next, 5-6 years. One of the things I said a while ago, I think I maybe even said it to Troy, to his face when I was interviewing him, is I really hope that behind the scenes, they've looked at it and said, we know what we have here. We know how much money this is going to, bring in, and we want more of these games. I understand when these big companies, these big wigs and all that stuff, when they say, well, we need a test subject. We need to make sure that the thing works. And then once it works, then we can do more of them, right? If you're doing a brand new IP game, brand new, right? Not a franchise you've done before. You're not necessarily planning the 15 spin-offs and the sequels and all that stuff. You're not necessarily doing that because you need to make sure that's going to sell first. But once it does, then you go nuts, okay? But for the Wizarding World, we all know very well what would and what probably would not work. There really, in my opinion, is no excuse, and I would put these people's feet to the fire. There's no excuse for kind of sitting around and waiting to see what happens. Now, yes, we haven't had, a successful Harry Potter-like game in a long time. I mean, I actually don't even know. I assume they've always sold well, the movie tie-in stuffs. And some of them have really good features. People go back to the Chamber of Secrets kind of era, level games. I get it. Quidditch World Cup is well received. There's a few others, but we haven't had a slam dunk. So I understand to a degree them saying, well, let's take a wait and see approach. But to me, that's kind of a wait and see approach with Hogwarts Legacy. You know what the Wizarding World brand can do. So I'll give them a little bit on that, where it's like, well, if they are outright telling the truth and they're saying, there's no DLCs planned, a sequel, we'd like a sequel, but we aren't doing it. We aren't actively making it. We really are just waiting to see the sales and how well Hogwarts Legacy is received. Almost like Resident Evil Village. They weren't planning on doing the DLC. Village came out. It blew up. It sold so many copies, and they said, oh, we'll make DLC because it seems like you guys like it. If they're doing that, I get it. But if you were to tell me the entire, like, Warner Bros, again, big wigs are saying, well, we're going to put a hold on the Wizarding world in general, or Portkey Games, I guess would be the better label, right? If Portkey Games is saying, well, you know, we'd like to do other stuff. We hear you. We hear Quidditch. A Quidditch standalone game would be pretty cool, but we're waiting on Hogwarts. I honestly think that's an idiotic move. I really do. There should be multiple of these happening. So that's kind of my point when I make these when I do these live streams and I say it. That's kind of what I'm hinting at is Hogwarts comes out next year, right, in February. I mean, if you could do DLC, if DLC is planned, and you could have that come out by the end of the year, right, so you can kind of bookend the years, that would be totally cool. I'm not expecting Hogwarts Legacy 2 the following year, or even 2, or even necessarily 3. I mean, you can go further than that. So I'm not saying every year needs to be a Hogwarts Legacy thing. It is the kickoff. It should kind of be the kickoff, and that's fine. We should get yearly or bi-yearly releases of Wizarding World games. If they're smart, if they have forward thinking, which honestly I don't know if they do, that is, and again, I'm not talking about the team making Hogwarts, right? This is like a bigger thing. They should have other, you know, things in the oven right now. They should be cooking away. Again, you could look at Star Wars. You could look at Marvel. Now, Star Wars had that era, then it went away with EA, and now it's coming back. In fact, though, the most recent rumor with Star Wars is that I believe they want 2 games a year. It's Disney. Disney wants 2 Star Wars games to release every year. One of them, maybe a bigger one, like a Jedi Survivor. The other one, a smaller one. Could be like an experimental game. Could be like a random thing, but 2 games a year. And when you're handing out Star Wars games to literally anybody who wants them, it really shouldn't be an issue to have 2 games. And it's such a big universe, right? It has so many different games you could make from it, genres, that it works. I really don't understand why Wizarding World is any different. In fact, it's not. I think it's a little bit more limited than Star Wars, just because Star Wars is one of the bigger ones, but I don't think it's that limited. I really think, you know, in a perfect world, if you're handing these out like candy, and you can experiment with genres, right? Maybe you can make a VR game for it, a smaller, you know, experience. You can maybe do another, you could delve into Harry Potter, literally Harry Potter. That would be a little tricky, but there's all different kinds of eras, not just the era Hogwarts Legacy is in, that you can make more games. They don't have to just be centered in Hogwarts. Again, there's the Quidditch thing. I've talked about like a dueling, and I mean, there is dueling arenas. You could do something with that. Wizards chess, again, I would like that to just be in Hogwarts Legacy. I don't need that to be its own game, but there's 3 examples in Hogwarts Legacy 2. That's 4. I mean, right there, you know what I mean? Now, you know, am I expecting to get 2 of those in 2024? No. Honestly, in a perfect world, we should. I mean, these games should be cranked out. They really should. And again, I get it to a degree if Hogwarts Legacy is, you know, the starting point for games like Hogwarts, but I think you can have, I mean, you know, if they're waiting on Hogwarts to decide if a Quidditch World Cup game is worth it, somebody needs to be fired, because that's a really dumb, you know, mentality to have. If they're waiting on Hogwarts to see if another kind of Wizarding World game, just make them. And I mean, I get it. Me saying make them, I'm not in control of hundreds of millions of dollars. I get that, but you know, it really is a situation where you kind of have to go all in, like Marvel is doing literally right now. They're handing them out to and again, you're not going to get all good. There are going to be some bad ones, and so people are going to have to kind of accept that. You're going to get some bad ones, but you're also going to get some really cool ones that you would never really expect. You'll also just get like the big blockbuster ones that are great. I mean, that's what happens, and that only happens when you hand them out. DC has had this problem for a very long time. They suck at this. They don't even know what handing it out means. They think it means go to 2 studios and that's it. So it is a Warner Bros. Problem. Marvel has never really had this issue, or isn't right now. Star Wars, this really is a Warner Bros. Problem with the Wizarding World. They've never really expanded. DC, they've never really just handed them out to get like a DC game a year. Instead, we have to settle for every 7 years we get a DC game. So, you know what I mean? That's the issue Warner Bros. Has, and that is why I've been worried, you know, cautious at the very least of the Wizarding World, because it's part of it. So I've always kind of just assumed they don't have the greatest mentality when it comes to like handing things out, because the company as a whole is pretty awful at it. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up, and I hope to see you all on the next one.